Well, the exact rules of who can get pension credit are complex. However, a simple rule of thumb is if you're single and have a weekly income of under £235, then you may be entitled to it.
And if you're a couple, both of pension age, with a weekly income of under £350, then you may also be eligible.
And while there are also other circumstances in which you could be eligible to claim pension credit, if in doubt, it is always better to just check.
Yeah, joining us now to explain in more detail is Consumer Finance Specialist Sarah Pennells. Sarah, thank you so much for joining us this morning. So I suppose the whole issue about this, because it's, you know, it has been such a big issue for months now. People have been so unclear. Am I entitled to this or not? Do you think people have enough information at hand now to find out whether they really are entitled to the winter fuel allowance?
I think one of the problems is that the rules on who qualifies for pension credit and who doesn't qualify are a bit complicated. So you mentioned there the kind of income levels at which you may be able to claim it. But, for example, if you're somebody who gets the state pension, but then you get a benefit such as attendance allowance, certain benefits, including attendance allowance, are completely ignored when your income is assessed. So you could have an income that's higher than the levels we've been talking about, and because some of it is effectively not taken into account, you'd still qualify. Likewise, if you're a carer or you have a disability, then you're allowed to keep more of your money. So there isn't a one-sentence answer as to who qualifies for pension credit and who doesn't. And we've been doing some in-depth research into why people aren't claiming. We found that 2 in 5 people over pension age hadn't checked to see if they qualify.
So they just assumed that they didn't qualify, so they hadn't checked?
And 3/4 of those who hadn't checked thought they wouldn't qualify.
But then the issue is, when you've got so many... When it's so confusing, there's almost probably more people are going to apply or call up or get on the government website. So you're just creating this sort of traffic of people. I mean, it feels like the system is not very good, is it?
I think one of the issues is, because of this impending deadline, there have been a lot more people applying, and some of those have found out they don't qualify. I think if you're not sure, and I would always say it's absolutely worth checking first, but there are some calculators that you can use online. So the gov.uk website's got one. Turn to Us, who's our
so
charity
before
partner.
you even do the application?
Yes, so then you don't actually have to go through the application process.
Because it's a lengthy application, isn't it? At this point, let's hear from Sylvia Mitchell. She is 78 and she claims pension credit, which in turn allows her to receive the winter fuel payment. She relies on family to help her with the application and says it can be hard to know how to navigate the process. Let's take a look.
A lot of people don't know how to go about it, who to get in touch with. And maybe some are thinking, well, I'm not entitled to it. My daughter did it all for me. She sorted everything out. When every year comes now, I have to ask my granddaughter to check to make sure that I'm covered. In years gone by, we could just walk into offices, sort things out there. We can't do that now. They're going to have to be able to let older people know better ways that they can contact for this help.
Yeah. I mean, this is a general concern, isn't it? And a lot of people at home now will be wondering, how do I do it? I mean, we looked at the application form earlier on. I mean, there's 225 boxes to fill. OK, admittedly, you might have to fill all of them, but that's quite a lot. So you were saying earlier that in order to find your eligibility, this calculator is quite interesting, isn't it? Because it might save you filling out all of this. So where do they find this calculator?
There are several of them. So you can go onto the gov.uk website. They've got a pension credit calculator. But there are other charities that will have an overall benefits calculator, because what we've also been finding is some people who aren't entitled to pension credit have been finding they've been entitled to other help that they didn't know about. So Turn to Us website, they're a charity. So we've been doing some research into this, and we've got a link to their calculator on our website, which is Royal London. But what I would say is you don't have to go through the whole application process to find out if you're entitled, but please do check, because, as Martin was saying, it's worth, for those currently claiming, around £3,900 a year. And I think the good thing about pension credit is it's what's called a gateway benefit. It means if you are entitled to pension credit, you can then claim the winter fuel payment from this winter, housing benefit if you rent your home, council tax reduction, a free TV licence. I mean, the list really does go on. It's such a valuable benefit that I would say, you know, do please check. Even if you miss the deadline tomorrow,
and
it is still overall worth
the point is that people have worked all their lives, or you know, they've contributed. They deserve this,
This
and
is money that
they're obligated to receive,
isn't it? When it comes to the application, there, you know, Sylvia was talking about the fact she's got family to help her with her application. Just to be clear, then, for pensioners who don't have that kind of help, what's the best way to get help with this?
Yeah. So as you say, lots of people are using family and friends to help. You can ring. There is a pension credit helpline as well, which is available, and charities often will talk you through the application process. So I would just say, even if you're not comfortable going online or you don't have great broadband or whatever, please don't let you put that off. Don't let that put you off applying for pension credit. I said there is help available on the phone. And also things like local libraries will often help you with online applications if you haven't got good access to
that's good to know.
the internet.
Now, so explain this to me, Sarah. Why do we have state pension and then we also have pension credit? Why can't we just put them both together and it's just one payment that you can just work out whether we get and it arrives in your bank account?
Yeah, it's a good question. I guess, I mean, obviously... It's an issue for a government to decide how much support they want to give. I suppose on a practical level, though, when you get the state pension, the government bases that on how much national insurance you've either paid or been credited with, and that's all they need to know about you. For something like pension credit, they would need to know about your income and savings and whether people would feel comfortable.
I wonder whether that can be done at the same time, and then just that
then
informs
that
what
you would share.
Yeah, what your state pension would then be. You know?
I mean, I think overall, if you look at where the state pension has been a few years ago and where it is now, because we've had some fairly chunky increases, its level is actually rising to, you know, we've had an increase of 8.5% this year and 10% last year. I think overall there is quite a drive to get the state pension to a level that's a bit more reasonable in terms of where people want to be able to pay their bills and things. But there's probably a wider debate to be had based on this experience about how we make sure that those who need it most get the help they need.
Because it's interesting, this figure here, in 2022, only 63% of those eligible for pension credit are estimated by the Department for Work and Pensions to have claimed it. And then the government, even after an awareness campaign, think that they're only going to push the take-up rate to 68%. So there are an awful lot of people, actually, who could be getting this extra money who aren't at the moment because they don't think they're eligible. Yeah,
so this number is stubbornly high. It used to be near 1 million. It's about 880,000. It has come down now to about 700,000, but it's still, I mean, that's almost 750,000 people who are on a lower income, you know, heading into retirement, trying to pay those bills, and obviously the energy bill is just one of them. So I think we know that there's already been some action by the government and by others, and there have been some interesting pilot schemes looking at what the barriers are. And that's one of the reasons we did the research, was to try and understand, is it that people don't know about pension credit? Well, it turns out from our research they know about it. Some people actually don't want to claim help. They feel uncomfortable, to your point earlier on. It's actually a benefit people are entitled
to the fact that they would need help.
And said that even if they needed help, they would rather it went to someone else who they thought was more deserving.
Which is fair enough, but there's something also reminded that, you know, we've all paid our taxes. You know, and this is what you pay it for.
And it's money that's there, that's sitting, waiting for people to claim.
Yeah.
Sarah, thanks so much for talking us through all of that.
Thank you.
That's good to know. Thank you.
Yeah, so check in with your family members and
it's important,
people to make sure that...
to say, have you checked?
Yeah, exactly. I think so.